Hi there, Peter Eastway here, presenting a MyEizo series of post-production skills, and they're the essentials. They're what I think makes the difference between a well put together piece of post-production and something that is great. And what we're aiming for is invisible post-production. In other words, once we've made our changes, although our viewer may be sophisticated enough to know that we have edited the file, it is important that they can't see where we have edited the file. Take a look at this photo I have here in Photoshop. Now, the techniques that I'm going to show you apply to Photoshop, Lightroom, Capture One, any piece of software that uses a brush in which to make selective adjustments. But here I've got an adjustment layer on top of my image. I'm just going to turn that on, turn that off, so you can see that I'm darkening the file. And then, having done that, if I was wanting to darken just the sky, for instance, I'd want to lighten up the foreground. Now you can see there from the size of my brush that it is rather big. Let's just bring it down to the sort of size that people would normally use. And then we want to make sure that it's a black brush, because we're going to hide the area down here. And as I put my brush across there, you'll see that it's relatively, it's a nice soft edge. It's not a hard edge. And the reason for that, as you probably already have guessed, is because the hardness has been set to 0. And if we look at the actual mask itself, you'll see that it is a nice soft brush. Okay, so what happens? I'll just go and change that across now. What happens if we get rid of all of that? And we change the hardness setting. Now, obviously, you know, we have a hard setting. We come along and we put the brush in. And there we go. Across there, it's a very hard edge. And when we turn the image back on, the problem is we can see where we've been. So we all know that. Now, the little trick that I wanted to show you was that sometimes we think that having a hardness setting of 0 means that we've got a lovely soft brush. But if you make that brush small, you drop it down here, well, maybe not quite that small, there we go, around about 100 pixels in this case for this size file, and then I start drawing edges there, you'll notice that although I've got a hardness of 0, in other words a soft brush, look at the edges of the brush marks, they're still quite hard. So the trick is, if you're wanting to have a nice soft edge, not to use too small a brush. Let's look at the other option. So we're going to enlarge the brush all the way up. And now we're up at about 5,000 pixels now, which is as large as we can do it in Photoshop. And as I drag my brush across there, look at how gentle that is. I'll just invert that. We'll just clear off the whole image. Takes a little bit of time while I'm doing the video as well. And let's just switch the mask off. And now, if I'm going to hide, so what I want to do is darken the sky, and so I want to lighten up the foreground, and so black brush just goes across here. And as you can see there, the beginning and the end of that adjustment is more or less indistinguishable. And I think that's one of the tricks that I find that a lot of photographers, when they're first getting into post-production, they forget. They think, oh, hardness 0, everything's okay. But it's not just having a soft brush, it's how big the brush is that matters. One of the other things that matters is the monitor that you're looking at. Without a good quality monitor, without a monitor that shows you accurate color, accurate tonality, how do you know what your edits are really doing? How do you know what your photo looks like? And so the trick is to get yourself a good quality monitor. EIZO makes great monitors, and just like we like to work with 16-bit files for all the tonality and color, so EIZO uses 16-bit displays. So it's a great marriage. Check out EIZO monitors as well. Cheers.